It can be tempting, especially with expensive power tools like power saws or other kinds of tools that can cost hundreds of dollars, to just buy one tool and use it for every job. This is the wrong approach to take, and it can lead to subpar work. Having the right tool for the job is absolutely essential for producing quality work. So, it is important for both hobbyists and experts to understand exactly what each specialty power tool is good for and why they need it. In this video, we will look at the difference between a table saw and a miter saw. When should you use one and when should you use the other? Who should get a table saw and who should get a miter saw? I will answer all these questions and more. The main difference between the two lies in function, accuracy, and portability. Uses. As I said earlier, table saws are general-purpose cutting tools. This means that they do a large variety of cuts, but it is not exactly precise. Where a table saw truly shines is its ability to make long rep cuts and crosscuts. A miter saw is a specialty power saw designed to make accurate crosscuts. For example, your average miter saw can really only make 6 to 8 inch crosscuts. This can vary quite a bit though depending on model. Obviously, this is a much smaller variety of cuts than a table saw can do. However, what the miter saw lacks in variety, it makes up for in pure execution. In case of a table saw, the rotating blade is in a fixed position. You will move the wood stock against the rotating blade to make the cut. On the other hand, on a miter saw you will fix the stock on the table and bring the blade onto the wood to make the cut. With a sliding compound miter saw, you will also move the miter saw blade across the workpiece. A miter saw is the absolute best option for those who need precision miter cuts and bevel cuts of wood or other softer materials like plastic. Yes, table saws can do the same cuts that miter saws can. However, if you use a table saw to try and make precision cuts, then the chances of making a mistake go up drastically. Likewise, using a table saw to make a precise compound cut is going to take a lot longer. A table saw requires additional accessories like sled and miter gauge with extensions to make precise crosscuts and miter cuts. Also worth noting is that miter saws are generally easier to move from place to place. So, if you want to carry the saw in different job locations, then you are best off going for either mobile table saw, which is still fairly heavy and cumbersome, or a miter saw. A miter with a rolling miter saw stand is highly portable and would come very handy for professionals. In general, a table saw and a miter saw, assuming both are from a reputable brand, will probably end up costing you about the same, so cost is not really a major difference. However, please keep in mind that prices can vary from retailer to retailer, and so your specific hardware store or online retailer may have different prices for miter saws and table saws. If you are just doing some general purpose cutting, like saying cutting large boards of wood, then a table saw is the best option. Table saw is the best choice for long rip cuts accurately. It will be able to quickly cut through large amounts of wood, which will obviously save you a lot of time down the road. Likewise, if you need to make crosscuts on short pieces of wood or cut up smaller wooden sheets, then a table saw is your best bet. Finally, any remodeling or carpentry work that you can think of is going to require a table saw. Like I said earlier, a table saw can do most of the cuts a miter saw can with the help of sleds and miter gauge. However, it is going to be very time-consuming and it is very easy to make mistakes when using a table saw for miter cuts. However, if you are confident in your abilities to make precise cuts with a table saw, or you have a good guide available to follow, then you should definitely do so. If you are in need of very precise miter and bevel cuts, then that is the time to invest in a miter saw. Stuff like furniture rails, frames, edging, etc. are all precise jobs and will benefit from the miter saw's accuracy and speed. Similarly, if you are doing a very complex project, then the chances are good that you will need a miter saw. So if you plan on doing any big projects in the future, like building a deck for example, then you should be investing in a good miter saw. Table saw is more versatile compared to the miter saw. For most people, a good table saw should be the first power saw you should invest in. However, if you only need cut wide boards occasionally, get a good circular saw and an edge guide to trim the stock down. Go for a miter saw if your work primarily involves precision miter and bevel cuts. The following list of common projects should help you to choose between a table saw vs miter saw.